What's going on, boys? It is day number 8 of reading through the book of Isaiah. We are going to be looking at two particular stories that Isaiah is going to share today. The first one, he's going to make a really good story about the destruction that could happen to a group of people. And then the second one, we'll be looking at the darkness now turns into light. And that story will actually start on today, but then we'll finish the second half of it tomorrow. So for today, we're going to be looking at a story of Isaiah and his children as signs. We're actually going to look at 3 different parts of it to kind of cover what is the point being made here. So first of all, I just want to take a look at, what exactly is the meaning behind this story. Isaiah is going to have a son, and the name of his son, excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, it's pronounced Mahir Shalal Hash Baz. I probably said that wrong, but that is what the Lord is giving instructions to Isaiah to name his son. Now, there is a specific thing that the Lord also spoke to Isaiah in verses 6 through 7. He says, "Because this people has rejected the gently flowing waters of Shiloah and rejoices over Rezin and the son of Remaliah, therefore the Lord is about to bring against them the mighty floodwaters of the Euphrates, the king of Assyria with all his pomp. It will overflow all its channels, run over all its banks." So he's kind of giving instructions to Isaiah saying, like, hey, because these people have rejected the ways of my commands, I'm going to bring upon these floodwaters and wash away their ways of being, these cities. I believe it's the city of Judah, and that's going to be mentioned. It's actually mentioned in the verse 8. But what's interesting is that, the prominent thing that I see from this is that when we reject God's commands, it will lead to serious destruction. And most of the time, it's not because God is going to, throw down all of these things he does. It's more because when we reject his commands, we put ourselves in a position where the world has a better chance at attacking us. There's a quote, I won't say a quote, but like a statement that a buddy of mine shared with me not too long ago. He said that the devil can easily attack you when you're alone, but when you're with a group of people that is having good brotherhood, the devil has a harder chance of trying to attack you and take you out. So a lot of people think that their ways of going, what they thought was true, will be their ways of life, but unfortunately it will get washed away because they aren't relying on God's word, so they're going to fail. They're going to fall, and then it's going to lead them to a very dark place. But Isaiah, being the great man that he is going to give some words of encouragement from verse 11 through 13, and then we'll read verse 15 here in just a second. So Isaiah says, "This is what the Lord says to me with his strong hand upon me, warning me not to follow the way of this people." So this is like his final warning against the people. So he says, "Do not call conspiracy everything this people calls a conspiracy. Do not fear what they fear, and do not dread it. The Lord Almighty is the one you are to regard as holy. He is the one you are to fear. He is the one you are to dread." And I'll go and read verse 15. He says, "Many of them will stumble. They will fall and be broken. They will be snared and captured." So Isaiah is giving this great kind of final message to these people, saying like, hey, this is what the Lord said is going to happen since you're not following his commands. Here, this is what he told me that I need to do to not follow this people. So he's saying, don't follow the ways of this world. Because when you follow the ways of this world, it only leads to destruction. It only leads to failure. It leads to darkness. And it leads to separation and to anger in some cases. And it also says, the Lord is holy and good and should be the only thing that we fear. And why should we fear God? Well, because he's almighty and powerful and we're not. We should fear they always say, people often are afraid of people that are bigger than them, and this can be physically or spiritually or emotionally, but you should fear something in order that you don't try to think that you're better than them. And it's not to say that we can't still love God. It's a matter of, God is holy and good. He is the king of the universe, and he's king over everything that you see, all directions, everything. And we are the ones that need to be following him. We are the ones that need to be obeying his commands, not vice versa. God isn't going to follow our ways, but God also isn't going to force his way into our life. He's going to be like, hey, you need to do this if you want to succeed. You need to do this if you want to exceed wisdom. And if we don't, we fall into destruction. And we're actually going to take a look at that in the second part of this section here in just a minute. But sometimes when we accept God's word and accept his invitation, sometimes we must fall before we can begin this new journey. And people get so frustrated because they think that once they start following God, that their life is immediately going to boost like a rocket ship into the air, and their life's going to become drastically better. Well, yes and no. Yes, in the fact that your life can improve when you accept God into your life, when you accept the Lord into your life. But the no part comes in is it doesn't happen right away. It is a period of time that takes, endless just prayers and endless just giving and endless devotions to his teachings. And sometimes this can take a while. Sometimes this may take a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a few years for some people. But it all just depends on where you're coming from and how devoted you are to learning his word, and how you are to spending time with him and reading the word and spending time in community with other people. And this brings me to my last verse, which is going to be in the first part of the darkness turns to light passage that we will cover the majority of it tomorrow. But I want to read a verse from verse 20 all the way until the very end of chapter 8, where Isaiah says, "If anyone does not speak according to this word, they will have no light of dawn. Distressed and the hungry, they will roam through the land. When they are famished, they will become enraged, and looking upward will curse their king and their God. They will look toward the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom. They will be thrust into utter darkness." So this makes me think of a story when I was scrolling on social media a couple of days ago. And there's a question this guy was asking. He said, well, if there's a God, he's like, how can there be a God if there's so much evil in the world? He says, okay. He says, well, let's take God out of the picture here. Is there still evil in the world? And he says, yes. And so the guy asks, well, he says, well, why is that? Where's the evil come from? If you say, quote unquote, God isn't real, but yet evil still exists, then what does that say about us? What does that say about the world? It says that the world creates the evil. Humanity, create the evil. It's not God. So God does exist, but the evil doesn't come from God. God has no evil in him. He's 100% pure and holy and good. So the evil has to come from somewhere within the world. And unfortunately, it does come from the devil, but it also comes from our very erotic ways of thinking, of how we view other people, how we judge each other, and how we go about our lives because we don't like the way people say things to us. We don't like the way people do things because we want them to be our way. And the unfortunate part about it is that, when you're in the darkness, a lot of these people who are cursing God and people who are getting upset over this are people who are confused. And all they need is a little bit of light. So my encouragement for today would be, if you know somebody, a friend or a coworker or a family member that is just confused and is always saying, well, God is just evil in this way, talk to them and just understand where they're coming from, because a lot of times that's all it takes. It's just a little bit of fellowship, and I promise you can turn them to God. And when people get turned to God, they really start to understand why things are the way they are, why they have to happen. But I really hope that, whatever you're going through right now, that God would answer your prayers, and that you would just continue to work hard with whatever you're in, your career or school or just whatever sort of goal that you have set and you're trying to achieve. I promise you'll get there. God won't let you fail. You set a goal, and I'm sure he's very excited to see you get to that goal, whether it's to climb a mountain or look a certain way with your body. I mean, you set a new goal, you set a goal that is achievable and a goal that it's going to make you better. I can just picture God's face with a big smile, and he looking at you and saying, son or daughter, I'm proud of you. I want to help you get to that goal. Because if you let God help you to that goal, I promise you'll turn out 1,000 times better than you would have on your own. So that is today's word. I hope that you guys have had a great Wednesday, and I hope that you guys have a great remainder of your week. Peace out, boys.